Good morning, and thank you so much that you have found also time to be with us on this beautiful Wednesday, the 3rd of May, year 2023. This is the Mid-Morning Pack. You're right on time for today's robust conversation on a subject that we've prepared for you. Definitely you will, or you are assured to enjoy this particular discussion. And of course, as usual in this particular show, I'm joined by my colleague, Bwana Paul Kagi. It's a beautiful morning to see you, Kagi.
Hi, good morning, Mangicho. How has been your week?
Fine, thank you. Actually, I've just remembered that we've not been on this particular show for the last 2 weeks.
Yes.
But I hope everything is well with you.
Very fine, and it has been a little bit of a cold season.
Sure.
Where I've traveled over the weekend, I found it has been a rainy season throughout the country.
And of course, this was
but it is a prayer answered.
It's a prayer answered, and I think it's very important that we continue to thank God and we continue to rejoice for the rains. That of course, I think this is almost everywhere in the country.
Yes.
This is, when we're having rains, it's an assurance that we are going to have our stores full.
And the biggest casualty over this rain are the people who use the Mai Mahiu road. Yeah, because the road was destroyed by some floods. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that is something that I also saw. This weekend, of course, today we have a very interesting topic, and our viewer, the topic that we're going to have today is a sexual and gender-based violence. Sexual and gender-based violence, that is a discussion that we're going to have. Apparently, this is something that is still affecting quite a number of people, quite a number of homes in the country. And we want to find out what are some of the things that need to be put into place, what are some of the measures, or some of the measures that needs to be looked into to ensure that we minimize, or actually we even end completely the menace of sexual and gender-based violence. And we'll have a guest who will help us to look into this particular matter. Today we will be joined by the Chief Magistrate in Nakuru, that is Elizabeth Juma. She is the Chief Magistrate in Nakuru. Lokot, she'll be here to tell us what are some of the strides that we've made as a country, what are some of the steps that we've taken as a country to ensure that we look into, and of course we deal with sexual and gender-based violence. And of course, even from her experience in matters law or in the legal background, of course, she'll be able to help us. What are some of the issues that you also as a viewer need to consider when you're looking at this particular matter? And of course, the question that we are asking you, because we also want you to contribute, to also give us your opinions, your reflections during this particular conversation. The question that we are asking you today, what are some of the challenges that we face, or what are some of the challenges that are faced in the fight against sexual and gender-based violence? What are some of the challenges? What are some of the issues, or what are some of the problems that maybe we may come across when we are dealing with the sexual and gender-based violence? You can begin to give us your opinion, and of course our different platforms for your feedback are wide open. You can catch us live on our Facebook page, that is MBCI TV, YouTube, that is MBCI TV Official, and of course, for those who are interested, or for those who desire to give us an SMS, our shortcut platform is 23814, And as we continue, of course, we'll be glad to sample some of your opinions on this particular topic. But of course, Kagi, as we always do it, quite a number of issues have been happening along or across this particular week.
Correct, and as usual, we usually give you a highlight of what has been happening for the last 1 week. We have a number of issues that we want to check this morning. Maybe the first one, which everybody is really following, is the issue of the Azimio demonstrations, particularly in the Nairobi, whereby yesterday it was a chaotic day in most of the streets in Nairobi, whereby the Azimio team were demonstrating to push the government on various issues. But yesterday things were different. They could not be able to manage to pull a huge crowd as compared to other demonstrations. And they said on Thursday, that is tomorrow, they will continue with the same. And the government is calling upon the Azimio to come back to the table to be able to discuss on the issues they are pushing. But Azimio is really insisting that they are not going to stop demonstrations unless the government withdraws holding talks from the parliament buildings, and also the withdrawal of Eden Kainan as a member of the bipartisan committee from the Kenya Kwanza side. So yesterday it was demonstrations, as they said last week, but the government seems to be a little bit organized. Mangicho, I think you are aware that the security details of these members of the Azimio especially members of parliament, the brigades, Kalonzo Musyoka, Raila Odinga, they were withdrawn as a strategy to be able to push them to withdraw holding demonstrations in Nairobi capital.
Kagi, actually, as you've rightly put it, and I think this is something that is quite mind-boggling because as you are actually giving us that particular perspective, two things have come to my mind. Because number one, these demonstrations are happening, and I'm just trying to wonder, so what is the fate of the bipartisan team that was appointed? And of course, we have members from the government side, or from the Kenya Kwanza side, and also we have members from the opposition side. And these are members who were actually brought together, or this is a team that was constituted so that the demonstrations. Is it a situation of them not having faith in the bipartisan team that was appointed, or is it a scenario of just trying to ensure that they have both of their ways?
Yes, and yesterday the Kenya Kwanza team was very categorical that we cannot hold some peaceful talks to be able to check on the issues. At the same time, we are holding demonstrations. The reason why the bipartisan team was selected was to quell down the demonstrations. And therefore, it is a little bit confusing, whereby the Azimio on one side is holding demonstrations, on the left side they are holding peaceful talks. And I think yesterday the Kenya Kwanza team were already in the meeting, but their team from the Azimio could not be able to turn up. And therefore, this is, I think it is threatening the progress of the talks, which could maybe give birth to the issues that are being raised by Azimio. I think there's something that is coming up. There is what we call maybe there's no faith in the talks from the other side. There's no that, they should have faith both sides to be able to continue with the talks.
Some form of mistrust there.
Yes, it is very high. And that's why I think from the beginning, Azimio was not maybe ready for the talks. You can see from the beginning, they have very harsh conditions for the Kenya Kwanza side, which I think has really threatened the continuation of these talks. But I think we need to come up with a formula, because I don't think demonstrations will bring the lasting solution. We need to have a solid talk. And I think the Azimio is suspicious on the operations of the bipartisan from the Kenya Kwanza. They have the majority in parliament, and I think that's why they feel they're not comfortable working within the parliament, because in parliament, Kenya Kwanza has majority. If they want to pass anything, it's just a blink of an eye. But Azimio is really being mishandled by the tyranny of numbers in parliament.
That's very true.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that maybe those who are actually supporting maybe the Azimio demonstrations or the opposition demonstrations, they will argue that those demonstrations have actually bore fruits, especially maybe in regards to the lowering of the price of unga. I don't know whether, Kagi, you've been in a position to visit quite a number of supermarkets. Is unga now retailing at 150 Kenya shillings?
Yes, there are some shops which we can find that unga, but not all shops. I think minimum shops, they have that unga, but it's not as much as we expected, that every retail shop you'll be able to find this unga. And I think there's a problem between those who supply unga, or maybe the millers, and the Ministry of Agriculture. The millers are reluctant to be able to supply or import the maize. The government is threatening, if you don't come to import this maize, we are going to do it by ourselves. There is push and pull between the Ministry of Agriculture and the millers. There's something that's not coming out clear there. Although yesterday, the Azimio there are some reservations with the maize which is being imported from abroad.
Yeah, I think that is something that maybe will still require to be looked into, so that at least we can have a solution. But then, of course, we shouldn't as a country, we shouldn't as a society be waiting for demonstrations so that maybe the government can actually put measures that it is supposed to be put. It is very wrong for maybe the opposition side to actually take credit of the demonstration, saying that it is because of this particular demonstration that maybe we've seen the government may be acting. I think the government should actually be proactive enough to do what is it that it is very sure it is supposed to do for Kenyans, so that they don't give the opposition that particular opportunity.
Correct. And there's one issue that came up yesterday, Mangicho.
Yes.
Uhuru Kenyatta was kicked out of the party as the party leader by the Kanini Kega team. It's an issue that is gaining momentum day by day. We know sometimes last week, the Kanini Kega team had stormed the Jubilee offices. Is it in Kileleshwa or where? In the Nairobi suburbs. And the former president himself came to be able to resist taking over of their offices. And yesterday they had a new strategy whereby they said the party leader has been ousted to be leading the party. They are saying that according to the constitution, after 6 months, the former president cannot be able to hold any public office. And therefore, we are expecting to see whether the president who announced there are going to be a delegates conference, I think May 20-something, this month, yeah?
Right.
Yeah, I think we are waiting to see whether this delegate conference is going to be held at Bomas of Kenya. I think they want to ratify some issues there, which I suspect they want to ouster members of parliament who are allied to the Kenya Kwanza and they belong to Jubilee. And also I think they want to solidify the officials of the Jubilee party.
So now we can actually confidently say that there is high stakes politics in the Jubilee,
yes,
in the Jubilee party. And apparently, I'm told that now that takeover, the one now who is in charge of the party is now Sabina Chege.
Yeah, it's Sabina Chege, who was an ally of Uhuru Kenyatta. It's very interesting.
Just a few months ago, she was a loyal ally, a very loyal ally of the former president Uhuru Kenyatta, but now she has toppled. She has toppled her former boss.
What I'm really trying to reason.
Yes.
I don't understand why Chege and the likes of Kanini Kega and the other team, they are really for Jubilee Party. But by the look of things, they are warming up towards the Kenya Kwanza.
Exactly.
Even though they were elected by Jubilee Party, but endgame, by the look of things, they are heading to the UDA.
They are heading to the
because
UDA.
Because that is the most popular party in Mount Kenya region. So I don't understand, Mwangicho, why these guys are pushing her to retain this party. Yeah,
that's a nice way to look at it, because many people would argue that Jubilee, when so many members of parliament actually left the party, it has remained a shell. And therefore, one would want to find out why so much interest, or maybe why so much desire to make sure that they take control of the party, and how would it maybe affect them if they were to leave this particular party to the former president Uhuru Kenyatta. What is it that they will lose? Now, if they gain also control, now I'm talking about the Kanini Kegas and the Sabina Cheges, if they take control of this particular party, how would it benefit them? Or is it that a matter of just wanting maybe to show the former president that after his term, and now since he's no longer the president, he must consider and he must recognize that there are people now who can have actually main control of power?
This is my observation, Mangicho. You know, as we are speaking right now, the most popular party in Mount Kenya region is the Kenya Kwanza. And I strongly feel there is a deliberate, orchestrated program to be able to ensure there is no strong party in the region for the sake of the 2027. I'm feeling the Jubilee Party, if it is allowed to grow, it can be an alternative party in many parts of the country, particularly in Mount Kenya region, because they don't have a, you know, if you look at the setup of our demographic and politics, is that most parties are more in some specific regions, and I feel it is a way of making sure that this party is not there. Even if Sabina Chege, they are going to retain the party as the officials, Chege as the leader, Kega as the Secretary General, I think the end game, they are going to dissolve that party and go to UDA.
I think in a way I agree with you, Kagi, because maybe if you look at it from that particular point of view, this is a situation whereby this is a party, of course, even though maybe it has lost quite a number of its, or it has lost its solid foundation, but then there is that particular aspect of the party still being maybe in a way or the other popular, but at least being known by quite a number of voters, maybe especially from that particular region, the Mount Kenya. And maybe now the other group of the former president, maybe they may want to ensure that they're in control of the party, as opposed to maybe to starting afresh or maybe coming up with a new party altogether, which might be quite difficult or might be quite hard to popularize it and to make it as famous maybe as any other major party.
And I think the final doorstep to this push and pull will be at the political parties office, number one. Number two, the political parties tribunal, the political parties conflict resolution tribunal. And finally, maybe in our courts to be able to, each function to be able to retain the management of the party.
There is another story that I saw here, Kagi, that finally counties have received 31 billion Kenya shillings. I think in the last shows that we had, we discussed about the financial crisis that most of our counties were going through, especially because of the condition, or actually because of the reason why they have not received money from the treasury. And of course, there were no development initiatives, there were no development activities happening in the counties. And of course, again, even some of the county employees were also suffering because some of them had not actually even gotten their salaries for up to 3 months. And maybe, and actually I remember we had come to a situation whereby even the governors, some of the governors had actually threatened that they would shut counties because of that financial crunch. But I've seen today in the paper, they're saying that at least governors now, they've said that they're not going to shut counties. At least there's some money that has come in. Maybe now we'll be able to see some of some development activities happening across the devolved units.
Correct. And I think they were going through hard time because they had no money to be able to sort out their issues, salaries and other payments that they usually do from those who give their contracts. And I think it's a good move by the Treasury to be able to release enough money for them to be able to conduct their activities uninterrupted. And they had threatened they are going to shut down. I think this one even made the government to wake up and to be able to act. At least they were looking for their monies from the month of February, March, and April. And I think this one is going to help them to be able to start off somewhere, though it is not enough for them. And they had an agreement with the CS for Treasury, Njuguna Ndugu, about how the government is going to release this money as they continue. Okay? So, and I was asking myself, Mangicho, what is this shutting down of counties?
I think they're basically talking about maybe paralysis of the functions, the activities
of the county.
But at least I think now there is what we can actually call light at the end of the tunnel, and maybe at least that is some good news. And we're expecting that we'll be able to now to see the counties moving on well, even as they continue with the activities. And of course, Kagi, the main issue that has also been happening in the country, and now I think it's for the second week, is it called the Shakahola massacre?
Shakahola massacre.
The Shakahola massacre, something that has actually been of a major, it's actually a major tragedy in the country. And so far, the report are that the main culprit, that is Mr. Mackenzie, was actually rearrested again after he was let free by, is it a Malindi court? But he was rearrested again. And I think this is something that the government is also trying to follow and find out what is it that actually, or what are some of the issues. And maybe one of the things that so many stakeholders will be asking is what are some of these loopholes? And what is it that maybe was not done? Because apparently this is something that had taken, or this is something that had taken place for quite a long time. And one would wonder, where was the intelligence? How comes so many people were not aware of this tragedy?
It's a serious matter which is of a high public interest, which I think is being handled on a high level by the security personnel in our country, Ministry of Interior. And the President has already declared they are going to form a tribunal to be able to dig in to the questions that you're asking this morning, Mangicho. What really transpired? What happened? Who slept on his or her job? Kenyans need to know this, because this is a very serious tragedy that everybody is really worried about. We don't know whether there is another team that has been doing the same, but luckily the government's eye is open towards these people, and I think justice is going to be found in due course.
And I think it is also it is a major assignment, even maybe to the religious bodies, maybe now to, especially maybe even the church.
Yes.
To find out maybe what are some of the things, or what are some of the issues what are some of the missions that they need maybe to come with, to ensure that they have a great, or they have a very, very solid check on what we can actually call some of the cultic activities, and maybe the mushrooming of cults, and also maybe occults in the society.
Something that came up yesterday through the chief pathologist, Mr. Justin Oduor, is that the autopsy of the work done yesterday shows some children were strangled and suffocated to death. It's very serious. You know, when you go to UN, the United Nations has a very serious security for our children.
Right.
When it comes to various matters, child labor, you know, recruiting children to the military, you know, molesting children. The United Nations is very, very categorical on securing the security of our children globally, not even in Kenya. So when we feel that our children were strangled and suffocated to death, is a matter that really Kenyans need to know and understand, to be able to understand even how to secure your children. And I was wondering, if our parents were lured towards this line with our children, how secure are our children even in the hands of their mothers? Yeah. Because I could hear one story, one woman could go in with 5 children, even 4 children, and they are not alive.
Sure.
So how secure are our children, even to the close relatives?
Exactly, because now if the parents are the ones that maybe are actually in the limelight, or actually in the front line of leading maybe their children to suffer the way maybe we've seen quite a number of them have suffered, then it's going to be a major challenge, even in trying to ensure the safety of the children. But of course, this is something that I think the government, all the stakeholders, have to pull up their socks and ensure to find out the lasting solution. Because again, there are those who are saying that there were very early signs that were shown by this Mr. Mackenzie, but it's like there was no action that was taken. There have been also reports in the media, even of Mr. Mackenzie clashing with the then Malindi MP, that is Aisha Jumwa, but there was very little step that was taken. So I think as we move ahead, there is need of ensuring that some of these issues are actually very well put into consideration to ensure that they don't arise. Yes.
Maybe one more issue, Mangicho, regarding to our roads. Yesterday, Kenha, I think yesterday, but one, Kenha closed the Maimahiu Road because the road was distracted severely by floods. And I was traveling from Nairobi that day, and I was stuck for 8 hours. And I was asking myself, for how long will this road continue experiencing some damages? I think we need to come up with a good formula to be able to secure some of these roads, especially when it comes to rainy season, because rain will always come. But every year we have reports of the Maimahiu Road has been disrupted. You know, that is the road that we rely on when it comes to ferrying lorries, long-distance lorries.
It's a road that is used by so many trucks.
Yes.
Yeah, that operate maybe from Mombasa towards the western region, also Uganda.
Yes. Yeah. I think we need to come up with another way an alternative route for our long-distance transporters, or maybe expanding our Nakuru, Mombasa road, something like that, to be able to come out of this trouble. You know? I
agree with you, because so sometimes we've had that tendency as a country. I think it is a weakness that needs to be overcome, whereby we are just reactive, okay? So that we wait for something to happen, wait for some action to take place, negative in this particular scenario, so that maybe we might take step. Now the rains are here, and of course you'll begin to hear of the adverse effects of the rains. And one, like just you've pointed out, would want to argue, why is it that maybe we did not take any action, okay? And we had a very long time where we didn't have rains. We should have actually foreseen the consequences of these very, very heavy rains that we are at the moment experiencing.
You remember we had a problem with an area called Bundalangi some years back,
sure.
Whereby every rainy season that place was inhabitable. But a lot of work was done, research, to be able to bring a lasting solution in Budalangi area, even though they're experiencing some little bit of challenges, but it's not like there before. There were some strategies that were laid, some jobs were done, and today residents from that area are not experiencing as serious disruptions or by floods as it was there before. And therefore, I believe that we have the capacity, we have the brains that can be able to do this job and to come out of this mess.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's very true. Kagi, just before maybe we take a break so that we can come back with our guest who is already in the studio. Today, I'm just being reminded that it is World Press Freedom Day. Yeah, today is World Press Freedom Day. And of course, as a country, it's important that we also look back and see what are some of the issues, what are some of the steps, what are some of the strides that we've made in ensuring that we have the freedom of the press. And of course, we cannot ignore some of the challenges that our pressmen and women have also faced when actually going about their duties, and also trying as much as possible to help the county and the society and also Kenyans to be informed on a daily basis.
Yes, I was checking one of the cartoons on the Standard newspaper. They are really trying to express the situation of the press freedom in the country as per now. You know, we cannot complain as compared to our East African countries, Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda. We are far much better in terms of press freedom and even the freedom of expression. But we need to cultivate more to ensure that this freedom that we have enjoyed over the years is not manipulated.
Sure.
On the other side, it's good to protect that media. We do not misuse the freedom that is there. Because there can be either the government is manipulating the press freedom or media is misusing the press freedom. We need to strike the balance to be able to move forward. But press freedom is important.
Yeah, press freedom is important. And of course, I think this is coming at a time when there has been a major, what we can actually call mixed reactions. And of course, also, a lot of people have actually criticized the government because of denying the media an opportunity to get into the Shakahola place where the massacre happened. I think you can remember, like, for 3 days, the media were prevented from actually getting information in regards to the operation that was happening in Shakahola. And so many people have actually felt that this was one major setback in terms of ensuring that there is press freedom, because one of the press freedom is also ensuring that the media can actually get access to the information that is in public interest.
Yeah, to have a flow of information that is needed by the public to be able to continue. And there are many areas that media has contributed towards the development of the country. And one of the areas that media has really worked hard is to reveal the corruption malpractices in various departments of the government. You remember the issue of the NYS. It was revealed by the media, and the DCI and the anti-corruption unit really picked up from there.
Sure.
And so that media has a big role to ensure that all departments, all areas, all sectors in our republic are shining correctly, right?
Exactly.
Even revealing whereby the human rights have been sabotaged. Media is very, very key. Can you imagine Mangicho a place where there's no press freedom? Yeah.
It can be very, very disappointing. We're going to take a short break at this particular point, and we are coming back. Our guest is already in the studio. That is Elizabeth Joma, the Chief Magistrate in Nakuru. We are looking at sexual and gender-based violence. Stay tuned. We are coming back after this short break.
MBCI Television, transforming lives.
Nimechoka kujifanya, kwa kizungu utasemaje?
I'm tired doing.
Eh?
I'm tired doing.
Doing what?
Yani kujifanya, kujifanya. Kujifanya, doing. Huh? Hey, mtu wangu. I'm tired.
Nimechoka kujifanya, kwa kizungu utasemaje?
I'm tired to employ myself.
Nitajie 3 heavenly bodies. Kichwa, Kichwa?
No.
Mkono?
No, no, no.
Miguu?
I said no.
Kwanza namshukuru Mungu aliyenipoza machungu
na maneno ya ulimwengu. Kweli Mungu siyo mzungu, ufikirishe na machungu kwa kuninyima na machungu.
Liza School is a private, mixed, co-educational, non-denominational school geared in the provision of high-quality education under the CBC and 844 curriculum. The school is located within Naivasha sub-county, about 7 kilometers from Naivasha town on the main Nairobi-Nakuru highway. Liza School design is kindergarten, middle school and junior secondary school. Our school is well equipped with modern classrooms, a state-of-the-art junior secondary school with well-equipped laboratories, a computer lab, and a comfortable student residence with both girls and boys residents. Our school has invested in extracurricular activities with an ample playground for all sporting activities, a playhouse for the kindergarten, and our recent addition, a half-size Olympic swimming pool. We also are grounded by our school motto, in fearing God, wisdom begins, to work on the child's spiritual nourishment for a better future. Our interviews are scheduled for Friday, 5th May 2023. For more information, call us on 0726 997474 or 0726 222362, or you can visit our website at www.lizaschool.sc.ke. Liza School Naivasha, in pursuit of excellence.
The Bible says, "Let my people go." His Grace Prayer Mission, in conjunction with bishops, pastors and clergy in Nyeri County, invite you to a mega tent meeting in Nyeri Town, Nyeri Primary School, dubbed Nyeri County Family Prayers. Dates 5th, 6th and 7th May 2023. Time Friday and Saturday from 8 a.m., Sunday from noon. Come and receive healing for your life and family as the Lord liberates you for your next level in life. Bishop Michael Wanderi will minister the word of God. Karibu and be blessed.
Unasubiri nini? Finels Properties Limited is here for you. We bring to you plots of 50 by 100 at 199,000. Pay a deposit of 100,000 upate mbuzi. All title deed inclusive. Few plots remaining for Gilgil Breeze Phase 4. Title deeds will be issued in the month of May for all investors who paid in the month of March and April 2023. Wawekezaji wanaweza farm hash avocados, beekeeping and other farming activities. For Chamas, special package pata plot at 125,000. For more information, visit our Nakuru offices at Kenyatta Avenue, Belpa House, above Sidian Bank, first floor, room 3, or our Nairobi office in Roiro. Call us on 0724 111110 or Roiro office on 0742 240000. Finels Properties, validating your dreams.
MBCI Television, transforming lives.
Welcome back. You're still joining us right here on the Mid-Morning Park. Thank you so much for finding time to be with us on this beautiful Wednesday. As we had highlighted earlier, that today's topic is sexual and gender-based violence, sexual and gender-based violence. Maybe even some of you are not in a position, or maybe you've not, or maybe you cannot even maybe explain, or even you are not very sure whether you understand what we mean when you talk about sexual and gender-based violence. And maybe when you are affected, you don't even know what are some of the steps that you need to take so that at least you can also be in a position to get justice. And that is why we want to have this informative discussion here. And we are so much delighted, Kagi, in the studio to have a guest that, of course, is experienced and also knowledgeable and also an expert to help us look at this particular issue in details. That is Honorable Elizabeth Juma. She is the Chief Magistrate, Nakuru Law Court. Thank you so much. Karibu sana. Good to have you today.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mola.
Yes.
And I appreciate the invitation to come here, especially on this day. World Press Freedom Day.
Exactly.
I want to appreciate your sharing
in
the day with us.
Yeah.
And we really want to appreciate the role the media is really playing. Actually, you're able to educate the community. Through you, we are here to educate the community.
Wow.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Asante sana.
Yeah.
We appreciate a lot. And also, we are also honored to have you on MBCI TV. And of course, looking forward to you shedding light as far as this particular discussion is concerned. And maybe if we can just maybe set the stage, Honorable Elizabeth, even maybe for the purposes of our viewer. Yes. When you're talking about sexual and gender-based violence, kindly paint a picture for us.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Mangichomola. When we talk about gender or sexual-based violence, this is violence that somebody suffers on account of the gender. That doesn't mean women alone. Men suffer, of course, from gender-based violence, but to a lesser degree. We see a number of women are the ones who are the majority who suffer this sexual, physical, psychological, mental, emotional, and even economic. Yeah, so that is what it means. So it is usually perpetrated against somebody's will, and it's based on what is described as gender biases. Yes.
And you've said when you look at maybe the gender, the men and the women,
yes,
we have fewer men who suffer.
Yes.
The sexual and gender-based violence, but there are those maybe who argue that we have a lot of men, only that maybe they don't say.
Yeah, there is that element also, that actually a number of men suffer, but they don't report. And even when they report, they are not received very well. So it really discourages men from reporting. And I'm requesting the people in that line, is it medical, is it the police, anybody in the gender desk, to be very sensitive to any survivor, whether male or female, so that we are encouraging the male to come out. Because for women, there's a lot of care, there's a lot of good reception because of training, but men should also come out knowing that they will also be heard. But I've not had a case of a man who has come out and has been turned out. I do not know. But for me, it is to encourage every survivor. The government is here to protect you, and the courts are here to protect.
Yeah, maybe Honorable, I want to talk about my fellow men.
Yes.
You know, sometimes they fear to come out.
Yes.
Maybe don't you think we need to have a special, I don't know, a special table, a special desk to deal with men who are being violated, to be able to protect that shame to come out? Maybe in your departments, or that you may be able to handle them to freely express their maybe molestation.
Yeah. Yeah, there is a gender desk usually, let's say, at the police station, and I'm sure they receive both men and women and children.
Okay.
So for me, it is to encourage, whether you are a man or a woman, please don't shy away. You have your rights to be protected. So come out. Nobody is going to look down upon you. You do not choose to be offended.
Yeah.
You're just what we call a victim or a survivor in that case. Yes.
And Mangicho, before you continue,
Yes.
I'm thinking of maybe the sexual and gender violence.
Yes.
When it comes to the issue of sexual, many people are aware of that kind of violence, yeah?
Yes.
The rape and the sodomy, all those things, eh? The issue of maybe fighting the other gender is very, very known by the public. What are the specific violences that maybe public don't know that are fall under the gender-based violence?
Although the types of gender-based violence, that's what you're talking about. Okay, majorly people will associate it with rape, defilement, and we call it, when it is a closer relative, incest. We also have domestic violence where people actually fighting. We have children being molested or being made to do work that they are not supposed to do. We have people being trafficked from one point to another. That is also falls under gender-based violence because some of the trafficking is for sexual exploitation. So that is part of the gender-based violence. There are quite a number, including what I said, economic, because somebody can be deprived a livelihood from the person who is expected to depend on the person they depend on. It's a violence. Yes.
Wow. Thank you so much, Honorable Elizabeth. Now, I know this is now where maybe you will be of greater help also now in helping us now to understand when we now come to the matters law. What does the law say as far as sexual and gender-based violence is concerned? And what are some of the steps that maybe we've made as a country in ensuring that maybe we've come up with the laws, we've come up with acts that can actually help us to fight this particular issue?
Thank you so much, Mr. Mangijo. You know, in Kenya, the protection is there, right from the Constitution, Article 27, Article 28, even up to Article 30, where there is non-discrimination, nobody should be subjected to slavery. Then we have protection of the children, even Article 50. Then we have the sexual, the Children's Act. We have even the Penal Code. There is quite a number of law that has also been put up to date in line with the international instruments for the protection of any form of violence against an individual.
Okay.
Yeah, so right from the Constitution, the Sexual Offences Act, you see the Sexual Offences was amended, and it has been amended 2018. We saw a new amendment being brought to show that nobody should speak sexually to a child. I don't know whether people know this. It's an offense to speak matters sex to a child because that is where it starts. Then children are defiled. So that moment somebody starts to speak, anybody who is above 18 starts to speak a sexual language to a person below 18, it's already an offense. That was a 2018 amendment. So there's a lot of protection.
There's a lot of protection.
Yes.
And in regards to also the issue of evidence, which maybe some people have always argued that has become a major hindrance. Maybe what is it that maybe from where you sit, the court has done to ensure that it helps in actually enforcing and also maybe trying to make sure that the success of the fight against sexual and gender-based violence is actually achieved?
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Mangijo. Thank you even for asking that, because people are violated out there. Without the evidence, the courts cannot convict. And that's where we've seen most of the times the courts are blamed. But in most cases, you find that the evidence was either lost along the way or the evidence was left out of the court. What happens the moment somebody feels violated? The best thing is to preserve that evidence. And that evidence, the way it is preserved, if it is involving sexual activity, is to seek medical advice, attention, the collection of the evidence, including the chain of custody, how that evidence lives from the survivor to the doctor to the police. We are calling it chain of custody so that it's not lost. That way, then the case might be lost if the evidence is not brought to court. Yes.
So that's still a major challenge. If the evidence is lost, even if somebody maybe has been assaulted, or even if somebody has suffered sexual and gender-based violence, it might be very, very difficult for them to get or to access justice.
It is not so difficult. What we will advise now on national TV is to tell everybody, when you get violated, do not keep quiet. Do not sleep over it a week, a month later. That is when you're coming up. Immediately that trauma, which I want to call it a traumatic experience, please seek help. Those who've gone to the hospital immediately, the police have been able to be called. The DNA evidence is obtained. We get the forensic evidence. It is properly stored and channeled to court. Those cases we get conviction. When it goes to high courts, it's hard to be overturned. But when the evidence is shaky, that is where now the loophole of the law it takes advantage. But the best thing is anybody violated, seek help immediately.
Immediately.
Yes. If it is involving sexual activity, let the forensic evidence be also taken. A medical examination immediately is advisable. Do not even shower, they advise. Just go to the hospital immediately so that they can gather as much evidence as possible.
Right.
Yes.
We have our reporter, that is Vincent Kimutai, who always go to the streets and also give us some of the opinions. I'm being told by my director that Vincent Kimutai is still working on those, we normally call them vox pops, or the opinions of some of our viewers or some of the Kenyans on this particular matter. And of course, we'll be able to join Vincent Kimutai in a short while. But as we continue, Honorable Elizabeth, looking also at the length or the duration, the period that this particular case can take, how can the court try as much as possible to ensure that this is a matter that can actually maybe be looked into maybe within the shortest period of time, so that actually those who are the victims can actually look at it and be able to actually be convinced that they've actually accessed justice? And or maybe you can actually help us to understand tentatively maybe how long can a case involving gender and sexual-based violence take?
Okay. We are trained to give these cases priority, but I just want to say that I am also a member of International Women Judges Association, which is Kenya chapter, and we're passionate about this. Recently, through our involvement, the Honorable CJ Martha Koome opened an SGBV court in Shanzu Law Courts. This court now will be hearing matters of this nature.
So that is a court mainly for these particular cases?
Yes, for these particular cases.
Sexual and gender-based violence.
Yes, so that these cases are heard as soon as possible. Okay. We have a second court that has been launched also at Makadara Law Courts. So as the CJ is looking at trying to shorten the time for these matters as possible, we are also looking at ways that as the existing magistrates, how do we prioritize these cases among other matters that equally require priority hearing? So we are doing our level best to give these cases priority, especially cases involving children. The courts are encouraged to give these cases priority.
Right.
Yeah. But in essence, these cases should be heard as soon as possible. Especially, you find that the survivor may have been removed from the society to a rescue center, so to say. So this child, if it's a child or person, should not be moved for long. So we try as much as possible to give it priority. I cannot be able to say how long a case ideally takes. But what I can say is, as courts, we endeavor to give, especially children's matters, a priority. Children tend to forget. And again, you don't want a child to have healed the trauma for you to reopen it. So it's important for us to give them the priority within their remembrance to testify. Then the child is able to go on with their own lives.
Yeah, on the same, regarding the children, Honorable Elizabeth, regarding the security and protection of our children, how do we ensure there is enough security and protection of our children who have been sexually and domestically violated?
This is where now, like Nakuru, I think we are lucky we have one home that specifically deals with children, that is Hokan. The rest you find they are mixed with the other SGBV victims. As government, the Amended Children's Act has enjoined every county government to have a rescue center for children. For Nakuru, I think the one we have is a private one, but it's helping, that Hokan Children Home. As a county, each county should have a home, and that home should take care that any child that is committed there continues with education.
But they are no longer in the custody or maybe of the parents where they have been violated?
Yes.
They are picked from there? Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
Some of the children, maybe the perpetrators are parents, so the children are removed.
Yeah.
Or maybe they don't have parents. These are vulnerable children. So the moment they are put in that institution, it is expected perhaps there is a school nearby where these children can go to school so that their life can continue. So that these children do not suffer twice.
Yeah.
First, they have been sexually violated. Secondly, they miss out on school, which is their right, really.
Okay. And maybe as we wait for Kimutai, there are some cases whereby we are aware. For example, there's been a case of incest,
yes,
a case of rape, and some people decide to handle that case within their family context without going, instead of going to court. Yeah. Is it allowed by law? Number two, do you have a situation whereby the case of domestic violence, the rape, the incest, the case can be handled outside the court?
Thank you so much. Yeah, we have such cases being compromised at home, but I think what we are saying is that these kind of cases should not be compromised at home because the perpetrators at the end of the day get away.
Yeah.
And some of them, we see them repeat offenders. So I am just urging the public that please do not compromise such cases. Let the survivors get justice. Yeah, let the survivors get justice. So again, we do not encourage, especially where children are involved, we do not encourage out-of-court settlements.
Yeah.
Yeah, perhaps cases of marital rape, things like that. Perhaps those are the areas that we can encourage an out-of-court settlement. But cases of sexual violence in nature, generally, we do not allow out-of-court settlement on account of the seriousness of the offenses.
Yeah, back to the children, I think I have a lot of interest. Is there a scenario whereby you have handled a case as a magistrate?
Yes.
And by the look of things, after maybe sentencing, you feel there's no enough security for the custody of the child to go back with the family, and therefore the child is taken away from the family?
Yes, yes, there. Thank you, Mr. Kagi. Yeah, we have handled cases especially where the perpetrator is the father or a parent. In such cases, the law allows you to divest, to remove that responsibility of the parent or the child. Then you appoint a guardian, somebody else to take care, and now the child can be committed to an institution where the learning is ensured. Because again, if he continues that controlled father-child relationship, the likelihood of the offense being repeated is possible. So in such cases, after conviction, we divest the authority of the father from the child.
All right.
Yeah.
Good. There is one viewer here who is asking, when SGBV case has been reported to the police, what are the requirements from the survivor? Because sometimes the police ask for a birth certificate or a clinic card where a minor is involved.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr.
What are some of the referrals both ways?
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you so much. For a case of defilement, the age of the survivor is very critical, and I guess that's why the police will insist on the birth certificate or something to show the age. Okay. Age is very critical in a way that because the younger the child, the more severe the sentence.
Yeah.
The child below 11 years, it's life imprisonment. Yeah, so it goes 11 to 13, 13 to 18, 15 years, and 20 years. So it is very critical to know what sentencing ranges to address the charge to. Yes. So that's why they would require that. But I will also encourage that, especially where a child is from a vulnerable background, and these documents may not be available immediately. The police should just go ahead and put a holding charge as we get these documents. I'm speaking this because I worked in a court where there was, call it a slum just nearby. You find children are being taken care of there by grandparents, and they don't have these documents immediately, and these children are violated. This grandmother took over these children just to bring them up. They don't even remember when to get this documentation unless the school requires them. So such cases, if you were to tell them to go back, they might not get those documents. So for me, it's to encourage those who are handling the cases from the police, the DPP, just accept holding charge and then proceed to ask for these documents to be processed. We have children who come from vulnerable background who are actually easy victims for the perpetration, and they're the ones now will be faced with this second challenge of not having documentation. Yes.
Okay. And maybe also, Honorable Elizabeth, you can also help us to maybe understand when you're talking about, because maybe there are different, I don't know whether we'll call them levels maybe of sexual and gender-based assault,
yes,
and maybe the corresponding sentence or maybe the charges for the same.
Okay. Yeah, I mentioned that a child who is below 11 years is life imprisonment. 11 to 13 is 20 years imprisonment. 13 to 18 is 15 years imprisonment. So that is the provision of the law in matters defilement. And the one I spoke about, speaking to child in language that suggests sex, the imprisonment is up to 15 years. Yes.
What about adults? Maybe in case maybe of a husband who has maybe assaulted the wife?
Yes, the sentences are equally very severe. In case of the lenient sentence, I think, is about 5 years in the Sexual Offences Act. Otherwise, the sentences range between that 5 years to life imprisonment. Yeah.
And is there a scenario where maybe the wife can maybe report to the husband only maybe for them maybe to change and maybe want the court to altogether drop the case?
Yeah, we have cases of like marital rape where spouses can report. Yeah, but yeah, it happens that somehow a family can have an understanding, and in such cases we encourage if there is no violence for reconciliation.
Okay.
Or we have also ADR. Yeah, we have mode of mediation, ADR, where we try to bring people in the community together. Yes.
My director is telling me now we can join our reporter Vincent Kimtai. He was in the streets to get the opinions of Kenyans on this subject on sexual and gender-based violence. Vincent Kimtai, take it away for us.
Shukran sana Mangicho Mola pamoja na Paul Kagi mkiwa upande wa pili wa studio, na kulingana na mjadala ambao mnaendelea kujadili hapo studioni, hapa hivi nitaweza kuzungumza na Wakenya kuhusiana na ongezeko la visa vya dhulma vya kijinsia humu nchini, ambapo katika siku za hivi karibuni tumeweza kushuhudia kwamba kuna ongezeko kubwa, asilimia kubwa ya visa vya dhulma vya kijinsia, ambapo wake na waume wamekuwa wakigeukiana na kuweza kusababisha maafa katika jamii. Na hapa hivi nitakuwa nikizungumza na Wakenya kufahamu, je, wanafikiri ni nini chanzo kikuu cha visa vya dhulma vya kijinsia katika jamii, na je, wanafikiri ni nini serikali itaweza kufanya ili kukabili ongezeko la visa vya dhulma vya kijinsia humu nchini. Je, wanafikiri sababu ya visa hivyo ni nini?
Okay, kwa majina mimi wananiita Oscar Mamanyi from Nakuru. Kitu ambacho kinaweza kuwa kinachangia dhuluma za kijinsia, watu kupigana kwa sana kwa nyumba, number one, people are rushing into marriage. Wewe uko na kiu ya kuoa ama kuolewa, hujajuana na huyo mtu, yani hamjapitia ile process ya courtship. Huyo mtu mkikaa naye baada ya miaka fulani unapata kwamba tabia zake zinaripuka, unakuja kujua kwamba maybe unaishi na gaidi, maybe unaishi na mtu ambaye hasira zake hajui kuzicontrol. Inaweza kuwa ni mojawapo ambayo inachangia. And then number two, uchumi wa maisha pia unaweza kuwa unachangia. Unapata kwamba labda kwa sababu ya ukosefu wa pesa, kila mtu anakuwa na hasira zake. Bibi akikuitisha kama ni pesa mboga pale hivyo unamrudishia vibaya, kwa sana kunaanza kuingilia pale katikati na inaweza kachangia.
Kwanza kwa majina yangu wananiita Henry, Mimi langu naweza sema tu kwamba hii dhuluma ya kijinsia ilianza kitambo sana. Sisi tumezaliwa tukapata kwamba ipo, lakini saa hizi imezidi. Kitu ya kwanza ni maisha imekuwa magumu. Ukiangalia kwanza mwanaume kwanza amelemewa sana, hata ukisoma unakuta kazi haipatikani kwa mwanaume, unakuta mwanamke kazi inapatikana, unakuta labda nalipo pesa mingi. Akisha kwa hivyo madhara nayo inakuwa ni zaidi sana kwa mwanaume. Sasa unaona kama mwanaume unakuta kwamba umelemewa na hiyo maisha. Sasa unakuta ukiulizwa kitu kama pesa ya chakula, labda umeacha shilingi 200 hapo, unakuta mwanamke naye anaona hiyo sio anaenda kutafuta kwamba pesa kule nje kwenye wako nao.
Majina zangu ni Alice. Mimi ni mkazi wa Nakuru. Na nimefurahishwa kwa kunioji. Mimi naona maneno ya ndoa. Ndoa inatakiwa na mapasta waingilie ndani. Wakati vijana wanaoana, ndoa za saizi kama za zamani. Wakati vijana wanaoana, wakuwe na counseling ile kubwa sana. Kwa upande wa msichana, kwa upande wa kijana. Alafu waende kwa wazazi, waone hawa watoto walikuwa kwa misingi gani.
Mimi naitwa Vincent Omondi. Mimi natengeneza vitu za umbwa kama collar, leash, chain. Sasa shida mingi ni hakuna pesa. Sasa ukikuta watu wakiuana kwa ndoa, mzee ameenda amepiga hustle kama vile mimi napiga hustle yangu hapa. Akifika huko unafika jioni hakuna pesa, ukienda huko mama anataka pesa. Mnajibizana, mwisho anarudi anaona wewe ni kama gunia tupu yenye ina kitu. Sasa hii kitu ndio ukuta watu wanaanza kuuana. Ni bei ya unga vile serikali imetufinyilia kwa bei ya unga. Unga ikishuka bei hata tuta afford. Sasa hii ukipata hata 200 inaenda inanunua unga, kuna mboga, kuna makaa. Hiyo 200 ukimpea anaona ni kama mpea pesa ya credit. Sasa unaona ataenda alete shida mtakosana.
Naitwa Joyce. Okay, kinye mimi naweza sema lack of proper communication. Juu saa zingine yes kuna ups and downs, watu wanakosana. But watu wakichoose maybe kukaa chini na kuongea, juu kuna watu wenye ni compatible, hawapatani, yani unapata my likes ni dislikes maybe na mumewana ama mko in a relationship. So saa zingine kuna watu wakijitolea kuongea, maybe unaona huyu hatuwezani, mnaachana na mtu akiacha anaachika. So I guess ni communication ndio kuna shida. And then pia kukiwa na issue, I guess vile watu wana handle pia. Kuna watu wana handle maybe, kuna watu wana overreact, na pia kuna mwingine maybe anaopt acha jinyamazia jifungie kwa nyumba. So I guess ni vitu kama hizo.
Unafikiri jamii imekosa kuelimishwa vile ambavyo wanaweza tatua changamoto katika wanapoingia kwenye ndoa?
Yeah, I think wamefail kidogo kuelimisha watu. But zingine ukiangalia unapata watu wameingia mapema wamejiingiza mapema kwa mambo ya watu wazima. Unapata watu hata ni teenagers wameanza mambo zingine mapema, so unaona kuelewana pia itakuwa ngumu.
Kwa majina naitwa Ronald Obinda. Mimi mfanyikazi, tunafanya hapa biashara hapa town. Hapa pande ya Gilani hapa, nauza gas hapa. So kuhusu hiyo swala tunaweza sema government wanaweza, kama if they could invent more something like vile vituo vya kuguide watu ama za kupeana mawaidha. If they could do that, hii vitu inaweza punguza hizo mavisa za kuuana kwa mafamilia. Alafu kitu nyingine maybe, so watu wako katika hali ya depression. So in one thing all about government should invent hizo vituo vingi vya at least za kupea mafamilia mawaidha, because we need that sense of humanity at least. So if that thing is invented, everything will be fine. Alafu high cost of living pia ndo ina lead into that depression. Napata sasa kama mzee anashindwa atafanya nini, atarudi kwa nyumba ana kitu, na yeye akirudi kwa nyumba juu lazima provide, bibi naye anapiga kelele. So all those things bring that matter in one. So what the government should do at once, they should just invent those places za kupea familia mawaidha. That's all. Thank you.
Ni maoni ya Wakenya hayo, ambapo tumeona wengi wakiweza kutoa wito kwa serikali kuweza kuingilia kati, wakitoa pia wito kwa viongozi wa kidini kuweza kuingilia kati, wakisema kwa ushirikiano baina ya serikali na kanisa pamoja na viongozi wa kidini utaweza kusaidia kupungua kwa dhuluma za kijinsia humu nchini. Hata hivyo, katika kipindi cha wiki mbili zilizopita tulimuona waziri wa jinsia Aisha Jumwa akiweza kusema kuwa akiweza kuwataka waathiriwa wa dhuluma za kijinsia kuweza kuripoti visa hivyo haraka iwezekanavyo ili serikali ikaweze kuchukua hatua. Vile vile tuliweza kuona mashirika ya kutetea haki za kibinadamu humu nchini yakiweza kuhusisha ongezeko la visa vya dhuluma vya kijinsia na gharama ya juu ya maisha pamoja na tatizo la afya ya akili, wakielezea haja ya serikali kushughulikia gharama ya maisha pamoja na hali ya kutoa mafunzo ama kufungua taasisi za kutoa mafunzo, ushauri na saa kwa watu ambao wanaingia kwenye ndoa ili dhuluma hizi zikaweze kupungua humu nchini. Nikiripotia kipindi cha Mid Morning Park, jina langu ni Vincent Kimutai.
Well, that is our reporter Vincent Kimutai on the streets, getting the opinions and also the views of our viewers and also Kenyans regarding this particular topic, sexual and gender-based violence. And I thank you so much, Vincent Kimutai, for such a great job there. Honorable Elizabeth, I know you've heard Kenyans and maybe what they've said in relation to maybe even the rising of these particular cases related to sexual and gender-based violence. Now, again, from where you sit, do you think, even with the laws that we have to curb this particular menace, do you think from maybe even the court's perspective or maybe from the judicial perspective, it is important maybe to look at other avenues that can actually be used to contain this particular issue, other than just maybe dealing with them from the legal perspective?
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Mola. I think what the Kenyans have spoken is what they have, their views on what causes the violence is true. And I agree with them that socioeconomic factors have a big role, where people are frustrated and they end up fighting. And what I can say is that in such cases of violence is to report immediately, to avoid such extremes. Like we've had cases they are mentioning about being people murder between intimate partners. Yeah, and what they're saying about rushed into a relationship before you know somebody, it's very key, because you might get somebody who was convicted many years ago, is out here and we don't know his lifestyle, then the person ends up. What we are saying is that other than in matters of gender and sexual-based violence, these are serious crimes. Other than the judicial process, I think I'll just say let them report. Let the matters be processed through the judicial system. While they are there, maybe if there are circumstances, maybe that we can do through judicial next mediation or ADR. We have quite a number of cases that we send out of court, but let it be through the judicial system, because we need to control and to be able to be sure that these are the right people to be released back to their society. Yes. And also the probation officers also. We have quite a number of actors that we involved.
I was thinking about the distinction between the judicial system or the courts and the local administrations in terms of handling the gender violence cases. Is there a distinction?
In most cases, the administration is actually what channels. Most of the matters will be reported to the local administration. So the administration then is supposed to trigger the matter up.
Okay.
Yeah, of course there are those small matters that the administrators can handle and maintain the law and order. But in matters, sexual, gender-based violence, they should just report them to go through the judicial system.
Actually, Kagi's point is actually related to maybe a comment I saw here. One is asking, what is the relationship between the judiciary or between the courts and the police in trying to ensure the success of adjudicating cases related to sexual and gender-based violence?
Okay. The police is the investigative arm of government. Once these matters are reported, the police will investigate. Perhaps these matters may even not be reported to the police immediately. Some of the matters, especially like involving defilement, we have had the teachers, the children informing the teachers. Then the teachers will inform maybe the local administration, local administration to the police. So what we are saying is that each member of the community has a role to play in eradicating. So the police investigate. Once they investigate, then they hand over the matter to the DPP. the DPP then will do the prosecution before the court.
Mhm.
Yes.
Well, and in terms of in terms of the cost,
Yes.
And especially now maybe to the victim, and maybe there are those who think that because maybe they don't have the capacity in terms maybe of the resources to ensure that they proceed with this particular case in court.
Yeah.
How does the court come in?
Okay. Thank you so much. We are trying to encourage like the hospitals, especially where the P3s are being filled, if this can be given for free. If it can even be, somebody else can be made to bear the cost, which I think the government should. A victim of gender and sexual-based violence being asked for 500 shillings or 100 shillings, maybe they don't have this money. Other than the medical expenditure, the rest all the way to the court, there is no expenditure other than maybe the cost of coming to court. And we'll say that the courts will always provide what we call travel to court expenses. We have such a vote in court. Those who are coming from Nakuru and the vicinity, if you are coming to Nakuru law courts, you can seek the court that you are appearing to be refunded the traveling expenses. And the court will, so long as the money is available, the court will refund. So those who are witnesses to such cases, we're saying, please come to court. When if you spend 200, 300 shillings, even 1,000, the court will be able to refund you through what we call a vote of travel expenses, where we cater for those witnesses who may not have any interest in the case and don't have money. Yes.
What about in terms of legal aid? That is also the
legal aid,
responsibility of the court?
It is the responsibility of the court. We have the legal aid. We have cases of where we give pro bono. You have reminded me of the Children Act. The Children Act has compelled the government to provide legal aid to every child, victim, and even an accused person. That is the ideal situation. So if the government is able to do that, but right now we have a legal aid that the court appoints pro bono lawyers to represent especially children cases. But that budget is again limited. It will never be enough to cater for everybody. But so long as those funds are available, those who are coming to Nakuru, please, you can apply to get that legal aid from the courts.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the issue of sexual violence, you had mentioned there before,
yes,
to ensure that this case can be able to have enough evidence. But now we shift to the other side of domestic violence. Maybe
Yes.
there was a physical whatever.
Yes.
Or what can one do to ensure that once you have been domestically violated, you can report the case to have enough evidence? What is the best way to go about it?
In case of domestic violence and there is violence, it's again to seek medical attention immediately. Have the treatment, have the treatment is also meant to cure the trauma that suffered, and also in the process gather evidence for the court. So quick reporting of the matters, do not delay. Just report as soon as possible. It may be a slap here or a hit there. If you stay longer, it will be worse. So we are urging that if there is any form of violence, there is protection. Just seek to report through the system. If it is not a matter that can be handled, what is it called? It can be counseling, as they said about charges, but if it is proper violence, please report, do not hesitate.
There are two more questions here, Honorable Elizabeth, from our viewers. One of them is asking, kindly ask the guest, what does the court do? Let me look at it again. Let me get it correct. Yeah, what does the court do when there are allegations of bribery when it comes to pushing for justice in a case related to sexual-based and gender violence?
Okay, I'm looking at like somebody is being framed or coerced to get money. We just hope that we don't have many of such cases, because it will be so unfortunate for an innocent person to be convicted. So,
have you come across it maybe in your
in my practice?
Yes.
I've been in practice close to 20 years.
Right.
Of course, I can say that I've convicted and acquitted people. But what I can say is that in case where it is a frame-up, I'm sure there will be that one loophole that will be able to, the court to be able to note. But if indeed the court gets to know that somebody was framed up, it will be an automatic acquittal. Yeah, there's no question about it. Okay. And again, for me, it's to discourage people from false reporting, because although nobody has been prosecuted, the law also criminalizes false reporting. Yes, it's an offense. Yes.
So this is something that maybe the court would identify, or the court would actually come to know maybe in the process of the case?
Yes, in the process of trial, the court will be able to see the element of that, what we call the benefit of doubt, or the circumstances that don't add up. So then the court will exercise that discretion to give the person the, what we call the benefit of doubt.
Exactly.
Yes.
And we have, I don't know, we will call them victims or culprits who have actually cried foul that maybe they were charged for some wrong that they did not commit. I don't know whether this is something that you've also come to experience.
Yeah, when everybody is brought to court, they say they are innocent. And there is that presumption of innocence until proven guilty. Even today in the morning, before I came here, what delayed me is one of the accused person who was saying, I am innocent. And I'm telling him, yes, we are giving you that presumption of innocence. That's why we are releasing you on bond. That's why we are giving you all these rights until you are proven guilty. But what I must say, Mr. Mola, is that unfortunately, I have been here for like from late January to now. I have noted that cases of sexual violence, there's a lot of absconding. We release you on bond, then you abscond. So as a court, we are thinking, are the bonds lenient? So for me, to encourage any suspect, when you are released on bond, please come to court. Because now, as a magistrate, if I find that the number of absconding is high, I may be tempted to stiffen the bond terms, which we really don't want, because it's a right of every accused person. For me, it's to encourage you, if you have a case in court, please attend court. Be there, defend yourself, you get justice. Yeah, if you are framed, the court will be able to see and acquit you. And even when you are convicted, you still have a right to appeal to the High Court, to the court. Like Nakuru here, we have all the 3 courts. You don't have to travel very far. You go to the High Court, you go to the Court of Appeal within the same building. Yeah, so please come to court. Don't shy away. Come to court, you go through the process, and you get your justice. It's good when you are exonerated in a nice way than running away from the court.
Yes. And when talking about, before I bring in Kagi, when you're talking about bail and bond, maybe when you can help our viewers also to be able to understand.
Yes.
What does it mean when maybe one is freed, maybe on bail, on bond, and also maybe the duration of time?
Okay.
Because actually there are some victims who feel that maybe this is something that is not doing justice to them when they see maybe the culprits being out there on these terms.
Okay. For me, is to tell the survivors that there is that presumption of innocence to every suspect who comes to court, especially those who plead not guilty. So they are entitled to bail. Before the 2010 Constitution, we had what was called capital offences. So we'll not give bond to murder, we'll not give bond to robbery with violence, even attempted robbery with violence. But right now, every offence is bailable. We have our bail and bond policy guidelines that enables us to assess and exercise judicial discretion in granting those bonds. So what we usually refer to cash bail is the money per se. You'll be told, Mr. Don't pray that you come to court. Mr. Mola, if you came to court and you are told cash bail of 100,000, it means you deposit cash bail of 100,000.
Yes.
So that when the case is
So what
over,
will also inform the cash bail is also the magnitude of the offence?
The magnitude of the offence. Okay. The higher the offence,
the higher the bail.
Yes, because that's why we are saying that the people of sexual offences are running away. So the propensity of you know, if you give them lesser bond terms, they are likely to run away. Yeah, so the bond now we require is security. Is it title deed, logbook, any property that will be able to be assessed?
It is a bond.
Yes, as bond. Some will give even a pay slip. If somebody is working for this studio, NBCI, you can come with your pay slip.
As your bond.
As security.
Or security.
Yeah, because you're working, you're in a gainful employment, you can guarantee that person to come to court. So that is what we call bond. Bond is, it's a value that is non-monetary immediately.
Okay.
And
and that one now can give them maybe the opportunity maybe to be out, maybe say like for 3 months, 4 months, 5 months?
It will be out for the rest of the case, as long as the case is on. So the moment the case is finalized, we give orders for the refund of cash bail, the release of the security, and the release of the surety. But when you stand as a surety, know that it is your duty to ensure the person comes to court. Yeah.
And who is this, the surety of the same amount?
Yeah, surety of the same amount means that person is now pledging.
Yes.
Should you fail to court, I'll come and pay that amount.
Oh.
Yeah, so that is the order.
The person becomes your guarantor.
The person is now your guarantor. Those are the right words. Hey, Mr. Paul, you. Yeah, but no, we thank the media. You know, our viewers take advantage of this. Yes. We have a lot of information from these media people. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's very interesting.
Maybe Mangicho, on the same, maybe before you continue, regarding to the issue of conflict of interest.
Yes.
There is the issue of the traditional structures of our societies. Regarding the same, sexual and domestic violence, we have the traditional structures of our society and you have the judicial system. Yeah. Are there sometimes you experience the conflict of the interest between the two?
Between the traditional setup and right now?
Yes.
You know, we are trying to engage into the tradition in certain spheres of the cases. There are those cases involving like almost of civil nature, where people can settle out there. So we are involving this court-annexed mediation. Yeah. We are also involved. There is a lot of out-of-court settlement involving wale wazee wa kitambo. Yeah. Right now, in cases of civil nature, in cases where we want like the family to be in harmony. But now in case of sexual and gender-based violence, that is why I excluded some cases for spouses where they want to go that way. We encourage families to stay in unity. But so long as there has to be this safeguard that we are not releasing somebody out there to go and reoffend or even commit a more serious offense. That is always the safeguard and the fear of the court, that if the process ensures that this family, we are not releasing them to hear something else tomorrow, then it will be safer to do that. But before the court is certain about it, they would rather the case goes through the entire judicial system. But we want to use the traditional to be able to try and push most of the cases that should not be in the system to go out.
And then Mangicho, the issue of FGM, is it under the sexual violence?
It is. Actually, FGM, wife bettering, it's a serious FGM matter, and for me, I would just encourage that that is a practice that does not serve purpose, that is harmful to the survivors. So for those communities that practice, we'll just encourage that, please, just spare our girls, let them go to school. Yes.
Right.
There is another viewer here asking, kindly ask, what about compensation for the victim? What measures does the court maybe look into to ensure that maybe a victim is supposed to be compensated some amount of money?
That is in SGBV.
Yes.
In SGBV, we actually do not encourage compensation because there are certain, what do you call this? These are cases of serious nature. The victim, especially like children, they are marred forever. A child whose, for lack of a better word, dignity is stolen may never be restored. Yeah, so such cases we do not encourage compensation. But there are cases, okay, you might wonder why will somebody like compensate, like allow compensation like a murder, which is against the community. This is in terms of the court annexed mediation, where it was maybe people were fighting. It's manslaughter, not premeditated. Or it could be some, when it's called manslaughter, there is no what is called manslaughter. But cases of SGBV, we will say let them go through the judicial system.
Right.
Yeah.
Another question here. What about where an offense has happened? Does the case have to happen in the same region, or maybe an offense can happen maybe in one particular region, but the case can actually be adjudicated in another region? For example, if an offense was to happen in Nakuru.
Yeah. If an offense is to happen in Nakuru, it will be tried in Nakuru. However, there are some circumstances that you find a case being tried elsewhere because the witnesses maybe are from that area. But in most cases, an offense will be tried in the area where it took place. Yeah, but in cases like perhaps like this post-election violence, you find people ran somewhere and the offenses were committed, they will report where maybe they are settled and the case can be heard.
So in a scenario where maybe the culprit committed the offense and maybe ran away from maybe for example he did it in Nakuru
and ran to Nairobi,
they'll have to be returned.
They will be brought here and be tried here in Nakuru. Yes.
That's good. And then
as you looked at that, maybe as you continue checking the SMSs,
yes,
the issue of the child labor.
Yes.
We have what you call the house girls,
yeah,
those who work in the farms.
Yeah.
What does the law say about these people?
Yeah, a child who is supposed to be in school is not supposed to work in certain environments like industries. But of course, again, I talked about the children, right? The Children Act that protects children, but the children also have some responsibility.
Yeah.
Like now, Mr. Paul,
yeah,
your child, when he comes from school, can wash utensils in the house. That's not child labor. Yeah? If you have businesses around,
Yes.
the children have a responsibility to be involved in the affairs of the family, so long as it is not harmful and it does not prevent them from going to school.
Yeah.
The children below 13 years are not supposed to work in an industry setup.
Okay.
Yeah. And even those who work, the work has to be of a certain level that it doesn't harm them. They shouldn't be given so heavy jobs. It could be a small task. We are looking at children who are trying to make maybe money to buy to buy books for school. It should also not affect their right to education.
Yeah.
If it's something maybe they are doing over the weekend, just to earn a little money for their... We have children who come from homes that they are not able to, and they have an opportunity. If, like you have a place here, they can come and sweep, do anything else. Yeah, they can just come and earn a little, so long as it does not harm that child, and it does not stop the child from going to school. Yes.
Wow, awesome. There was somebody here, I saw a question about how the court deals with a scenario whereby the offender is under 18.
Okay. Yeah, we have scenarios where children are under 18, where they commit an offense. The process of trying a child who is under 18 is a bit different. That's why we also fast track it. And we also have cases where children themselves have done what is called bad manners. So you find the offender of the SGBV is a child. It's a child defiling another. So both of them are declared as children invulnerable. Then you proceed, and somehow the cases are diverted. The new Children's Act has now provided for diversion of such cases so that children can be...
So such cases are had in a different court?
We have a children's court. We have children magistrates who are trained on how to handle such cases, and they are able to divert that. That should not give the children a right to commit such offenses, knowing they will be diverted. The process is so painful, so children be good. I am speaking on national TV, I'm telling you, don't do such things. The process is not good, even to get that diversion. So the better you stay away from adult business, the better for you. So where children defile each other, the cases are diverted. Yeah.
And where the case is hard and the offender is found culpable.
If the
what's
offense,
the kind of sentencing?
Okay, we have children who are found to be like serious offenders. We have their sentencing areas. Others are placed on probation. Some are sent to Boster homes. But the harshest is they are sent to Community Youth Correction Center, where now the rehabilitation is very intense. So that when a child leaves that process, the Community Youth Center, the child will have reformed. So we have Boster homes, depending on the offense. Yes.
And one more here. What are the effects of SGBV on the life of a survivor?
There is quite a lot of the effects of the SGBV. It could be pregnancy, it could be somebody will suffer permanent injury, the family will break down. There is socioeconomic impact. There is quite a lot. There will be a breakup of family. So the effect of SGBV is quite diverse, depending on how the offense was committed.
Wow.
It could even include death. We have had victims who have died in the process of being violated. Yeah, so it's not, they are quite grave.
Yeah, maybe Mangicho and Honorable.
Yeah, just before we bring this to a close, Kagi.
Oh, maybe briefly,
Yes.
what is your major frustrations as a court or a judge in terms of prosecuting sexual and gender-based violence cases?
Okay. The challenges will be the witnesses not coming to court.
Yeah.
The cases process, it's okay, it's in trial, the witnesses don't come to court.
And if they don't, that may actually even altogether bring the case down.
Yeah, it will bring the case down, but it's not automatic. We'll have to issue warrant of arrest. We'll summon, if you are a surety of such a person, we'll also issue warrant for your arrest to bring the person to court or the witnesses to court. Where the parents have kept away the children from court, we'll also issue warrants for them to bring the children to court. So there are processes of summoning, including warrants. Because these are serious cases, the courts don't let go immediately because they know that there's a violation and there's somebody somewhere waiting to get justice. Where we dismiss quickly, the courts have been blamed. Because they will say, it's the court that let me free.
Yeah.
We'll have to see that the victim or the survivor gets justice. Yes.
Wow. Maybe in a minute, Honorable Elizabeth, your parting shot as you look at that camera.
Yeah, so I'm saying that SGBV is very prevalent, especially here in Nakuru now that I'm here. For me, it's to say that it's a matter of international concern. And we have the national laws, we have the international instruments, and we're saying that let everybody be involved. Let us all play a role as a member of community to eradicate this. Thank you so much.
Honorable Elizabeth Juma, the Chief Magistrate, Nakuru Law Courts, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for your time, for your contribution, and even for enlightening our viewer on matters to do with the sexual and gender-based violence. We appreciate a lot.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity.
Most welcome.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
And that's where we want to bring it to a close for today. Thank you so much also our dear viewer for making time to be with us. And of course, Kagi has been a very, very enlightening conversation right here.
True. Yes, personally I have been enlightened more, and even viewers, I believe this afternoon you are now informed more about the sexual and gender-based violence. My name is Paul Kagi. I'm wishing you a beautiful day ahead.
And of course, we've had a very, very robust team here that has helped us to actually have this particular program for today. Director, that is Jeff Kea, and also Perpetual Nyambura, and also the producer and also programmer Natasha. We've also had some cameramen like Japheth Musioka, Very, and also Kanja also on the programming side. Thank you so much. I will do it again next Wednesday at a time like this. My name is Mangicho Mola. Enjoy the rest of your viewing.